Hello, I'm Jonathan Taylor, and today we'll be discussing music education and asking the question, why do they leave? And we'll dig into our investigation into why students stop taking private music lessons at an independent music school with urban and suburban facilities. This action research study uses exit survey data from students and interviews with teachers at an independent music school to determine why students quit music lessons and to discover what teachers can do to retain students for as long as possible. Exit survey data quickly revealed several reasons that the school could not control, but one reason for leaving is addressable: the loss of enjoyment or interest in music lessons. So, we asked our teachers questions like, what are you doing to ensure that students enjoy their lessons? And also, what maybe hasn't worked for you? The point was to draw out best practices that we could share with the entire faculty to address a major driver of student retention: fun and enjoyment of music. My current title is Music Director and Office Manager at an independent music school, and my job duties include those of an assistant principal, HR manager, housekeeper, and substitute teacher. I chose my study topic soon after a first meeting with both of the school's owners. They were concerned that despite having a good number of new enrollments each month, total enrollment never seemed to change, and it was preventing efforts to grow the business. I was tasked with looking into it. A few days later, I proposed that I incorporate this project into my course of study. The topic is ultimately important to me because 1, solving the riddle will fulfill a job-related goal for the year, and 2, the opportunity to help both teachers and students is why I wanted to work in administration in the first place. The primary purpose of this study is to help solve the business problem of zero enrollment growth at an independent music school by answering the research question: what are the most common reasons for student withdrawals from music lessons, and how can they be addressed internally to increase enrollment? This question and its resulting action plan both align with a goal that was set within the first days of my employment at the school: to find out why total enrollment remains flat despite a steady stream of new students. The secondary purpose of this study is to help me to acclimate to my new role as an administrator. Although I would have access to a school full of music students, I was so new to the job that it would be difficult to make changes or enact interventions. Curricula, teaching styles, scheduling, and the like were off limits while I learned the ropes. This limitation led to the idea to use teacher interviews to gather information about current practices and to get to know the teachers in person before making any changes. The setting for this action research study is an independently owned music school that offers one-on-one and small group music lessons at 3 locations: a city campus located in an urban area, a main campus located in a suburban mixed-use neighborhood, and a west campus located in an area with office buildings and light industry. The school offers lessons on piano, drums, guitar, bass, ukulele, violin, cello, voice, woodwinds, and brass. The school is also affiliated with a recording studio in the city. The music school has been in business for 7 years. The enrollment at the beginning of this study was 158 students. It remains at 158 students as of June 20, 2024, despite numerous withdrawals and new enrollments. The music school does not record information regarding race, ethnicity, or family income. However, student age and gender are known for 152 students, and they are shown here. The socioeconomic status of the school's families is probably skewed because the entire cohort has the means to pay for private music lessons, sometimes for multiple children. For comparison, information for the home school district where the main campus is located is shown here. The school employed 15 teachers at the beginning of the study, and it currently employs 12 teachers. Information regarding age and experience is shown here. All teachers have experience teaching primarily private lessons. As a result, their strengths relate to mastery of their instrument and their ability to work in a one-on-one setting with students of all ages. One weakness of sorts to consider is that musicians with music performance degrees do not receive formal teacher training unless they intentionally study music pedagogy, although pedagogy is sometimes a separate degree. Currently enrolled students technically are not study participants, as exit surveys are given only to students who withdraw from lessons. As a result, there are 452 participants in the exit surveys, with 327 respondents providing a reason for withdrawing from music lessons. Of the 9 teachers who agreed to be interviewed for this action research study, 7 are male and 2 are female. 3 teachers did not respond to the interview invitation. 2 teachers resigned and 1 was terminated before an interview could be scheduled. 1 teacher resigned shortly after their interview was recorded. These teachers tend to use mostly student-centered teaching methods and then a few teacher-centered methods to guide students and to ensure that they develop proper technique. The following review will discuss a common selling point that music education correlates with high academic achievement, how to ensure that students enjoy their music lessons, and factors that contribute to students ending their study of music. A prevalent theme in the literature is the cognitive benefit that music provides, and it is sometimes used as a selling point for music education. Studies that used functional magnetic neuroimaging to demonstrate that the brain uses the same region to process music and language have lent credence to the idea that learning music is similar to learning a foreign language. Researchers have also demonstrated a measurable difference in brain structures between musicians and non-musicians, notably as increased gray matter, leading to the conclusion that musical training during early childhood can lead to altered brain structural development. In the education realm, the study of music has shown some correlation with math and reading achievement, and causation of increased IQ. Schellenberg comes right out and says it after a controlled study that music lessons cause improvement in intellectual ability. Other research has worked to establish that music education is linked to enhanced divergent thinking and cognition. Schellenberg revealed a measurable increase in mean IQ in the groups that received music lessons. He also suggested that music lessons might be special, notably because they can create enjoyment while reaping multiple cognitive benefits. Despite the benefits of music being documented and measurable, attrition is inevitable, especially if one of Schellenberg's factors is not satisfied: enjoyment. For students, personal pleasure and satisfaction while singing or playing an instrument are vital to provide intrinsic motivation. But sometimes what a student enjoys is at odds with what a teacher wants to teach, and achievement can wane. Although some may suggest that teachers capitalize on students' preference for freedom of expression, some music teachers might be concerned that this approach will not lead to musical proficiency. Teachers may need to work toward a balance of hard work and personal enjoyment for students, including listening to what students have to say about their musical motivations, aspirations, and interests. Although teachers can make their best effort to make music enjoyable, most students will eventually stop taking lessons, even if they continue to play their instrument regularly. Still, the studies of student retention in K-12 music education have revealed one point of general agreement. There are measurable predictors of long-term retention, some of which appear within the first 6 months. Early studies noted that students tend to cite internal reasons for success and failure in music, which recognize the need for internal motivation to continue studying music. Others also documented that personal pleasure and feelings of satisfaction are strongly associated with long-term music study. One author found that students who indicated higher levels of parental musicianship and support in music also valued music more. This work supports the notion that environment also plays a powerful role in whether someone studies music. Another researcher documented 4 major factors that contributed to long-term study: encouragement from parents, financial stability, the presence of school music programs, and participation in recitals. The last one, recitals, is essentially a form of authentic assessment, and music schools are a perfect fit for it. As a result, the sponsoring or hosting of public performances or semi-public ones are a significant opportunity for a community music school to lay a foundation for long-term retention. Researchers found several factors that contribute to student retention, and they're listed here. It might not be obvious, but interactions among students, parents, and teachers contribute to retention, and a common theme in this list is cooperation among this triad. Teachers and schools can address all these factors to foster a positive relationship with parents who hopefully provide the needed support at home. Can teachers predict whether a music student will quit? The literature indicates that yes, there are predictors. The first is age, with expected high attrition in middle school. Other predictors manifest within the first 6 months of private lessons, showing that low achievement and motivation during the early stages of private instruction indicate a high likelihood of eventually quitting. These predictors listed here were the results of a Canadian study in which students received 3 years of free piano lessons and a free piano at home. Other authors have noted student-centered factors as reliable predictors of quitting music lessons. For example, they found that social motivation rarely provided the drive needed to continue. Students could get to a certain point, but they would lose interest at the point at which independent learning and effort are required. The need for enjoyment continues to be a major theme in these results. Some of these reasons can be addressed by educators, especially the shouting band director trope associated with marching band culture. Recent studies of band director behavior have suggested that humility is a better approach than appearing arrogant or unkind. Educators can address all the motivational and environmental factors that they can control, but a lack of internal motivation and regulation can negate every effort by a parent or teacher to provide external motivation. Educators should still monitor student engagement and talk with students to discern their motivation and aspirations. There is a final group of students who drop out for reasons that lie beyond the music school's or teacher's ability to control. These external factors appeared frequently when students were asked why they were ending music lessons. Researchers have found few suggestions to mitigate these factors. Next, we'll discuss the methods and data collected during the study. The intent of this action research study is to generate ideas for interventions and then evaluate the results of those interventions at the end of 2024. Those interventions will be intended to help solve a significant business problem, that of no enrollment growth. This study represents the beginning of the action research cycle, after which we will act, observe, and reflect. Let's recall the research question. What are the most common reasons for student withdrawals from music lessons, and how can they be addressed internally to increase enrollment? To answer the first part of this question, students or parents completed an exit survey upon withdrawal from music lessons. The school began collecting this data in January 2021, and data collected through January 2024 were used for this study. The free-form answers in the survey are captured in a spreadsheet with the students' names and other enrollment-related data. In some cases, the reason for quitting is paraphrased by the data entry person, but the electronic version of the form is always retained in the school's records. The interview script was written to encourage a brief conversation that would reveal what teachers are doing, possibly document best practices, and reveal what students are saying to their teachers. The interviews were constructed this way to answer the second part of the research question, that is, assuming that student enjoyment is the area where teachers can have the greatest effect, what can be done to keep students interested and thus increase enrollment? Interviews were conducted in person at the school, and an audio recording was made for each interview. In most cases, these interviews were also my first time meeting the teachers in person. A transcript was created for each interview, and the transcripts were annotated using a color coding scheme that would help to identify quotable answers that could be compared with other teachers' responses. The long-term collection of the exit survey data lends credibility to conclusions drawn from that data or connections made to the literature review. In addition, the inclusion of the interview transcripts in the final manuscript will allow for a thorough review of the teacher's comments. The interview questions can be used in any setting where a professional is providing instruction to a student. In addition, the exit survey is not unusual, and it could be replicated in any tuition-based educational setting. An audit trail exists for the exit survey data. The school retains an electronic copy of the survey for every respondent, which could be used to rebuild the study spreadsheet. The interview script is concise enough that anyone could conduct and record the interviews with any cohort of teachers. In addition, the analysis technique for the transcripts will be documented and reusable, although the phrases and themes that result may be unique to music education. To ensure correct interpretation of the teacher interviews, transcripts of the interviews will be sent to participants with the opportunity to clarify their answers or correct my interpretation. I will also present the study findings to the teachers and the owners during a staff meeting at the conclusion of the study. After anonymizing the data, reasons for quitting were assigned codes that facilitated the grouping of similar answers. Next, a pivot table was created to determine which reasons for withdrawal were most prevalent. Of 452 surveys, only 327 respondents gave a reason for withdrawing from lessons. The most common answers related to external factors that the school could not control. However, when similar answers were grouped together, such as lost interest, changed mind, can't focus, or not a good fit, a sizable subgroup emerged that represented students who simply did not enjoy the activity. Loss of interest or enjoyment was an expected result, but it ranked higher than anticipated, and this led to the teacher interview questions focusing on fun and enjoyment during lessons. Interestingly, if lost interest or enjoyment and teacher left or unavailable are both considered internal factors, the resulting group comprises 25% of the sample group citing a possibly school-related reason for quitting lessons, indicating that at best, the school can hope to influence 1 in 4 students who quit music lessons. These odds are likely even less favorable since some students will lose interest regardless of what the teacher, school, or parents do. Teachers were generally united in their acknowledgement that fun was a necessary part of lessons, but it took different forms for each teacher. Teachers of younger students tended to rely on gamification, quick tension releases, and redirection. Conversely, fun for older or highly talented students comes in the form of an individualized, student-centered approach where the teacher is a guide who ensures that their course remains pedagogically sound. Notably, most teachers stressed that the kind of fun was different for each student. Teachers diverged in their answers when discussing long-term retention methods, but one theme emerged: show immediate, short-term successes to create enjoyment, with clear, long-term growth in mind. This is where the teacher becomes an important component by demonstrating what's possible and charting the path to future success. Teachers also stressed that making students aware of the hard work component could not be ignored. Elements of fun always balanced with getting back to the lesson and doing the rigorous things. Some teachers struggled to provide specific, quotable examples of ineffective teaching methods, while others had ready answers. Teachers 4 and 7 both told stories about unkind, harsh teachers. 2 teachers mentioned recitals as causing stress, and some teachers focused on things that worked with some students but then failed with others. Their comments illustrate the need for individualized instruction in private lessons, and that sometimes the process is trial and error. Teachers made it clear that they could tell when a student was losing interest or not having fun. However, not all students would explicitly verbalize their dissatisfaction. Instead, teachers discussed having to read their students and look at what kind of progress they were making. For example, teachers can always tell when a student is not practicing, and a student's practice regimen is one of the best indicators of whether they will continue or quit. Teacher 9 provided the most succinct contrast by describing one student who would blaze through a lesson and lose track of time. Conversely, another student specifically said, "I'm not having fun with this anymore," not long before quitting music lessons. The teacher also noticed that the word tired, when it crept into a student's comments, was a strong indicator that the student might be close to quitting. The interviews also revealed a pattern of teachers intuiting what their students needed in a particular moment. These adjustments show that teachers are willing and eager to take advantage of the one-on-one setting and to modify their instruction according to a student's individual needs, personality, or learning style. The exit survey data show that the school can hope to influence at most 1 in 4 students who consider quitting music lessons. In some of those cases, students will quit regardless of what the school, teacher, or parents do. On the bright side, the school does not seem to be driving students away. Still, if the school had retained 25% of the students who quit since 2021, that being 113 students, then enrollment would be much higher. The major finding from the teacher interviews is that one-on-one private music lessons provide an advantageous environment for highly individualized education, and the teachers at this school are keenly aware of and hyper-fixated on this as a key advantage. As a result, they are constantly looking for ways to connect personally with their students and to differentiate their instruction for each individual. The second part of the research question feels only partially answered. There is no checklist of best practices that work every time. Instead, there are suggestions that might work with some students but will fail with others, and they are likely to contradict themselves. The most valuable pieces are the stories of one-on-one interactions, which will still be of value to other teachers. For example, although not everyone will use wolf sounds to do vocal exercises like Teacher 7 did, they might be inspired to look for creative ways to do mundane exercises with students who require that kind of strategy. The primary recommendation is that school administrators should be having regular conversations with teachers about what they're doing to have fun during lessons. The interviews in this study provided valuable insight into the teachers' philosophies and methods, and regular check-ins are likely to be equally valuable. Other recommendations are listed here. Future research at the school should include continued tracking of exit survey data and an analysis of teacher-student retention rates. That is, discern which teachers have the highest student retention rates and compare those with the teaching methods they describe in interviews. This action research study provided an excellent opportunity to understand my role as an administrator. I was also able to learn more about the business, and I was able to get to know the teachers a little better. I will have to accept that a certain amount of student attrition is inevitable, but if we can work our hardest to ensure that students enjoy their lessons and have fun when they play music, then we will be better armed to keep the ones who are most likely to continue playing music into adulthood.